think you're sweet. Here's some of those ramblings I was talking about. For some people, autobiographies seem necessary. Someone once told me the best way to pound out dents accumulated through years of careless handling is to release yourself from your memories. I couldn't help but ask, what about the memories that make us? What about the ones we make up? Life is art, and all art consists of is faith and observation, a true desire to see something or to see something come into fruition, a tuning of the inner lens so it reflects the light just right, so it shines out of the corneas. Some people's eyes, they just glow, you know? 4 wise men. 3, I could see my inexperience. It was that goddamn intangible. Sitting there in that bar across from a soldier whose energy I couldn't wrangle, talking about war. He seemed too sure to be human. Still, there was something in him that suggested a childish sense of secrecy, passing notes and whispering into my ear at impossible moments. Sitting there in front of him, I told him it was all about intention. Intent was the only thing that could possibly count through all the beating. I told him my hands were sick from serving, wrought with spasms. I told him my heart had grown so cold once, it froze. But deep inside, it was still beating. He smiled, and I couldn't help but feel a fool, watching rain-slashed pavement and backdrop of window broadcasting street behind him. He hadn't asked to sit when he arrived. He simply sat and started talking as though we'd known each other all our lives. I had not mentioned it. I hardly thought to notice. What? With all this beating inside. His words kept time with the rhythm in my chest, the one I had worn in over the years that said nothing could move me more or less for too terribly long. Nothing could move me. Until I looked at him, but listened. And when it became too much, I stopped looking and felt the vibrations of his memories beating in my ears, stepping ever closer to the center. I found it difficult to restrain my tongue from straying too far from the subject, tap dancing right across my teeth and out into the evening air to pound the pavement, slash all the silence out there. I wanted to follow it out into the rain, stare up at the sky squinting, and feel it pour. 2. There's this thing that he does where he never lets anyone see him cry. It's his favorite form of lying. Another one, which he seems to be quite fond of, is where he sneaks out the door when no one is paying too much attention, say 15% or so. An interesting symptom of this particular behavior is that his conversations hardly ever reach conclusions. But then again, knowing him, he's already thought that out. All those nights, so many nights sleepless. What does he care? Patience is his virtue. He finds everything in life easier to explain in wait and in wait times. I might ask, how are you feeling today? And he'd likely respond, 35 extra pounds in my arms, or probably about 15 minutes. With conviction, too, as though trying to describe something fully would be similar to searching for absolute zero. What I'm trying to say is impossible. 1. I met 2 men in one day who were carrying rocks in their backpacks. I met one of them as I was rounding the corner of Haight Street, ducking out of work on time loaned to me from a coworker to hit up my smoke spot. I had bent to tie my shoe, but lingered when I saw how quickly he was advancing, knowing without effort that I was going to be approached by him in some manner, its degree uncertain. I knew it, just as I knew I should not be leaving work for a smoke break 15 minutes into a shift. Inherently, but without any immediacy, almost tempting with its ability to get me to try on new questions. What might happen if I never went back again? What might happen if I stood up and said hello to this stranger? I stayed with the shoe. For one thing, I was palming my pipe, weed, and lighter, which would force me to stand with this. For 2, I had no pockets on my sweater. I hadn't thought I would need to hide anything walking such short distance. It just goes to show. One can never be too careful, he said, stopping next to me in my squatted position, smelling strongly of sage. Excuse me? It's good to keep your shoes tight, he said. Yeah, that's, I began, and carry around crystals, he continued. His smile was too large for his face. His entire frame hardly seemed sturdy enough to hold it up. You don't mind if I smoke, I hope, I more told than asked him, certain now that he was coming along. When we got to the corner of Waller and Scott, he pulled 6 small bundles of paper towels and packing plastic out of his backpack, leaving it empty. I likened it now to a deflated funhouse, and he did not laugh, just said, "Yes, we'll see. Take this," while handing me a stone, unlike any I'd ever seen before. It was brown, but more bronze, I guess, with a gold, almost purple sheen to it. Shiny in specks, but dull mostly. Heavy, but more accurately described as encompassing, I'd say. It filled my hand with warmth, settled into the crevices of my palm, and began to read them. "I never asked for this," I said, placing the rock down on the stone we sat on. "You're a Scorpio," his reply, more statement than question. I smiled. "For the time being," I said. He laughed and started to speak. "This will have to wait," I finished. "This will have to wait," I reiterated, clearer this time. "For the time being." He handed me his name, sloping across a scrap of paper which he'd lined the bottom of his backpack with. I took it and ran back to work, wondering how much time had passed. When I thought to look for it later, it had vanished. Perhaps I tossed it away as I was running, opened my palms to the breeze, and let it go.